Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another session. So, we are back with a new session of revision for the upcoming Kerala set exam. And I really hope all the aspirants out there of Kerala set, all of you are preparing really well. I know the exam has been postponed once, but don't get distracted for this, right? Instead, make use of this time to prepare really, really well. All right. So without further ado, let's get started with our session tonight. Let me start by sharing my screen with you all. The screen is visible, right? Yes, it is. So welcome again to our ninth revision session of Kerala set. Okay, are you all ready? Shall we get started with the questions then? Yes, chalo. Yes, good evening, good evening. Okay, yeah. Yes, good evening, Lokesh. So here's the first question for you all. Which postcolonial theorist famously coined the phrase "empire writes back" and co-authored the foundational text "The Empire Writes Back" that maps the manifold strategies of postcolonial literatures? So who is it? Which theorists? Which theorists coined this phrase "empire writes back" and co-authored the book? It is Bill Ashcroft, Gareth Griffiths, and Helen Tiffin. Bill Ashcroft, Gareth Griffiths, and Helen Tiffin. Right. Okay, correct. Yeah, next. It's a bit lengthy question, but let's do it. In T.S. Eliot's formulation of the mythical method, first articulated in his 1923 review, Ulysses' Order and Myth, which contemporary structural and formal parallel does he explicitly invoke to describe how James Joyce manipulates continuous parallel between contemporaneity and antiquity? In T.S. Eliot's formulation of the mythical method, first articulated in his 1923 review. So, in his critical essay, Ulysses' Order and Myth, which contemporary structural and formal parallel does Eliot invoke? Look at the options carefully. Which parallel has been talked about between the contemporary times and the antiquity of Odyssey of Homer? It is the scientific method of narrative substitution, which is analogous to Sir James Fraser's anthropological catalogue in the Golden Bough. In the Golden Bough. All right, great. Next. Who is often designated as the bird of Ayrshire and is known for writing vernacular Scottish poetry that deeply influenced the early romantic appreciation of folk life and simple nature? Who is known as the bird of Ayrshire? He is famous for writing vernacular Scottish poetry, and his Scottish poetry deeply influenced early romantic appreciation of folk life and simple nature. It is Robert Burns. Robert Burns. Okay, Robert Burns. Clear? Right? Got it? All right. Next. Which 18th century transitional work initiated the graveyard school of poetry, meditating extensively on mortality, night, and melancholy, which later fed into Gothic and Romantic sensibilities? This is a nice question. Which 18th century work of the transitional period inaugurated the subgenre of graveyard school of poetry? It's a subgenre of poetry which talks about mortality, night, melancholia, death, right? Which also inspired the Gothic novels of the time. It is Night Thoughts by Edward Young. Night Thoughts by Edward Young. Clear? Night Thoughts by Edward Young. This was an easy question. Right. Next. Published in 1793, which early descriptive reflective poem by Wordsworth reflects his walking tour through the Alps and mirrors a style still touched by 18th century local topographical poetry before the full advent of lyrical ballads. Again, it is quite easy. This work was published in 1793, and it's an early descriptive reflective poem by Wordsworth, which talks about his walking tour through the Alps mountains. And it mirrors the style, which talks about what? 18th century local topographical poetry. It is descriptive sketches of Wordsworth. Descriptive sketches of Wordsworth. Very easy question it was. All right. Descriptive sketches of Wordsworth. Right. Next. Which novel by William Golding features a choir boy named Jack Merridew, who gradually leads a group of standard schoolboys into savagery? This one is also easy. So which novel by Golding has the choir boy called Jack Merridew? And he leads a group of young schoolboys into savagery, craziness, wildness in a stranded island. Very easy. Say. It's the debut novel of William Golding, Lord of the Flies. Lord of the Flies, the debut novel of William Golding. The debut novel of William Golding, Lord of the Flies. All right, clear? Next. So if you are stuck with your research, if you need help with your research, 1:1 guidance is provided here at Vallath. So if you want, you can join our research mentorship. All right, great. Jim Dixon is the quintessential angry young man, protagonist of which post-war campus novel? Why no one is answering any of the questions? Why? What's wrong? You guys have your exam really soon, right? So you all should be knowing these things. So why aren't you answering? Jim Dixon is the protagonist of which campus novel? Jim Dixon is the protagonist of which campus novel? He is the protagonist of the campus novel Lucky Jim by Kingsley Amis. Lucky Jim by Kingsley Amis. All right. Okay. Next, Raja Rao's Kanthapura is prominently narrated through the perspective of which character? So, who is the narrator in Raja Rao's debut novel Kanthapura, published in 1938? Raja Rao's Kanthapura, that's his debut novel of 1938. Who is the narrator of this novel? Who is the narrator of Raja Rao's Kanthapura? It is Achakka. Achakka is the narrator of Raja Rao's debut novel Kanthapura, published in 1938. And this novel uses the style of Sthala Purana. Sthala Purana. All right, clear? Okay, next. Which of the following works forms part of Mulk Anand's trilogy, focusing on Lalu Singh, a peasant turned soldier? I marked the answer by mistake. It's okay. So, which of the following works by Mulk Anand, Anand's trilogy, focusing on Lalu Singh, a peasant turned soldier? Coolie is not about Lalu Singh, obviously. Two Lives and a Bud is about the Assam tea plantation. The Village is also not about Lalu Singh. It is Across the Black Waters. Across the Black Waters by Mulk Anand. It's by Lalu Singh. Tell me, is Coolie the second published novel of Mulk Anand? Is Coolie the second published novel of Mulk Anand? Yes. His debut novel was Untouchable, published in 1935, and his second novel was Coolie, 1936. It talks about a young boy called Munnu who dies towards the end of the novel. His debut novel was Untouchable, published in 1935, which talks about a singular day in the life of Bakha. And his second published novel was Kuli, 1936. It talks about the young boy Munnu, who dies at the end of the novel. All right, clear? Right. Next. Who wrote the famous essay Modern Fiction, which argues against the rigid realism of Edwardian writers like Arnold Bennett and calls for capturing the inner life? Tell me. Who wrote the famous essay Modern Fiction, 1919? Which argues against the rigid realism of Edwardian writers like Arnold Bennett and John Galsworthy, and calls for the illustration of the inner life of the characters. Yes, this essay is by Virginia Woolf. This essay is by Virginia Woolf. Right? Correct. Yes. Next. GB Shaw's play Major Barbara. It belongs to which theatrical tradition that he used to challenge social and economic orthodoxies? GB Shaw's play Major Barbara belongs to which theatrical tradition that he used to challenge social and economic orthodoxies? Major Barbara, it's a problem play. It's a problem play of GB Shaw. Right, it's a problem play of GB Shaw. Correct. Next. In Herman Melville's Moby-Dick, what is the specific name of the ship from the vineyard that Ahab's Pequod hails, whose captain refuses to join Ahab in the pursuit of the white whale because of a fatal prophecy regarding his own ship? Tell me. In Herman Melville's Moby Dick, what is the specific name of the ship from the vineyard that Ahab's Pequod hails, but whose captain refuses to join Captain Ahab in the pursuit of the white whale because the captain of that ship was also scared of a fatal prophecy regarding his own ship? Which ship is this? It is the Jeroboam. The Jeroboam. The Jeroboam. Clear? Right? Okay. It is option A. Next. John Osborne's Look Back in Anger, that was first performed in 1956. It introduces Jimmy Porter as the archetypal figure of which social group in post-war Britain? Osborne's Look Back in Anger. It's a play that was first performed in 1956, and it introduces its protagonist Jimmy Porter as what type of figure in post-war Britain? It is as an angry young man. This play is projecting Jimmy Porter as an angry young man. You have to understand that this particular play was produced by this movement called Angry Young Man Movement. And this movement was in vogue during the 1950s. During the 1950s, correct. Okay, next. In Shelley's lyrical drama Hellas, the lyrical choruses are heavily inspired by and structured as a modern political response to a classical Greek tragedy by which dramatist? So, in Shelley's lyrical drama Hellas, the lyrical choruses are heavily inspired and structured as a modern political response to a classical Greek tragedy by which dramatist? They're responding to the Persians by Aeschylus. They're responding to the Persians by Aeschylus. Do you all remember Aeschylus, the tragedian from classical Greece? He's known as the father of tragedy. He's famous for his Orestia trilogy. Right? Aeschylus, he's famous for Orestia trilogy. And here the Persians of Aeschylus has been invoked in the lyrical drama Hellas by Shelley. Is option C correct? Clear? Right. Maud Bodkin's pioneering work. So now we have a question from archetypal or myth criticism. All right. Maud Bodkin's pioneering work, Archetypal Patterns in Poetry, 1934. It directly applied the psychological discoveries of which thinker to trace recurring emotional and imaginative patterns in major English poets like Milton, Coleridge, and Dante. Tell me, tell me, tell me. Easy. If you know about archetypal criticism even a bit, you can answer this easily. Which thinker among these was very greatly, very intricately associated with archetypal or myth criticism? Maud Bodkin was inspired by the psychological discoveries of Carl Jung. Carl Jung. So Maud Bodkin's pioneering work, Archetypal Patterns in Poetry, 1934. It directly applied the psychological discoveries of Carl Jung to trace the recurring emotional and imaginative patterns in major English poets like Milton, Coleridge, and Dante. It is not Freud, it is Carl Jung. Carl Jung. All right? Yes, correct. So that's all from our side for tonight. I really hope you guys loved the session and enjoyed answering these questions. And the weekend is also here. So do enjoy your weekend, but also please keep studying for your upcoming Kerala set exam. All right. And if you need help with your research, our research mentorship program is here for you. Okay. Right. So do have a lovely weekend ahead. I will see you all again on Monday at 9:30 p.m.